Now we're just playing around with this pond, just putting it together. What we've got in the center here is a Aquatech all-in-one pond filter, which we've stuck a couple of little fake plants in just to distract what it is. And this is a little all-in-one unit, which has got a filter and a UV all built into it. So every now and then, if we noticed the fountain reducing in flow, then we'll just pull it out, we'll open it up, and inside is a sponge. We'll just give the sponge a clean in water from the pond and then put it back in again. So this unit looks like this. So that's that unit there, just to be a little water feature and additional filtration. Then over here, we've got a large pre-filter, which is that thing, which is connected to a pump. That pump shoots over to this, which is a UV filter. Because this is brand new, we're not going to turn the UV on. In a few weeks' time, when the good bacteria has grown, we'll turn the UV on. Then every now and then, when this looks to have reduced its flow, because at the moment it's shooting out there, if it looks like it's shooting out less powerfully, we have two options. Option number one is we can switch it to backwash, and then we'll aim that, we'll put a hose on that to the garden, and then that will flush all the crap out of the bottom of the unit. Or we can just open it up, take the lid off, take the sponge out, clean the sponge in water that we've removed from the pond, and all that water is very good for the garden. And then we will put it all back together again. And if that was done once a quarter, that would seem about right. We're also going to make sure that these fish are fed probiotics, because this food is magic. So the probiotic bacteria is very good for the fish's digestion, and then the bacteria that's in the poo actually eats the poo, so it helps to keep it nice and clean. And we're also going to install some pond lights, so we'll install them usually pointing up around the fountain, maybe one next to the pump shooting out that way just to distract from the pump. And then we've got a little bit of fish in there now. They're just bouncing around over there. We're not going to feed the fish for 2 weeks because we don't want any excess nutrients in the pond. And then when we feed them, we'll feed them, say, about 3 times a week, what they eat in 30 seconds, and just keep an eye on their bellies. Then when we do a water change, we're going to remove about a quarter of the water, no more than a third. Very good for the garden. Then when we refill the pond, we're going to make sure that we treat the water as we fill it. So we've got some fraction D there, which is a really powerful water ager. So in this pond, what we'll do is fill it up a few centimeters, add half a teaspoon of fraction D, fill it up a few centimeters, add half a teaspoon of fraction D until the pond is nice and full. And every time we do a water change, we'll also add a little bit of KH powder, because Sydney tap water often doesn't have KH, and a little bit of GH salts, which are very good for the fish's immune system. And every now and then, let's say once a quarter, we just test the pH, GH and KH, and then according to what that level is, then we can alter how much of those particular things are going into the water. And we'll make sure that we introduce the fish very slowly. So we've got half a dozen fish in there now. Then in a couple of weeks' time, we'll do a nice test, ammonia, nitrite, nitrate, pH, KH, GH. And then if we're happy with all the results, we could put another half a dozen in. And then we might wait another month or so after that, and till we're happy with the amount of fish that are in the pond. Now, it's really important not to have too many fish in your pond, otherwise you'll have to do too much maintenance. But in saying that, it's also important not to have not enough fish in your pond. And so if my fish weren't coming up to greet me, for example, if I was going to feed them here a few times a week, they should very quickly learn that I'm going to feed them, and they should come up to greet you. If you've had your pond or your tank for several months and the fish are very well settled in and they're still scatty and they're not coming up to greet you, then often that means you don't have enough fish. And if you increase the amount of fish, then fish should be braver and they shouldn't be scared, and they should then happily come up to greet you. Because if they're stressed because they think there's danger because there's not enough animals in the water, then at that point, sometimes they won't come up to greet you. So fish coming up to greet you is a very healthy sign. Anyway, if you've got any questions about any of this, then make sure you put a little note on the bottom of this video. And we'll get the UV turned on in a few weeks' time. And all should be well.